Magic Mushrooms? From Eve's Garden to My Granny's Microdosing by Agüita. Narrated by Vanessa Weller. Chapter 20. My third trip. 12 years ago, from a very high summit in the Andes, I saw the reflection of the sun's rays on the imposing snow-capped peaks of the mountain range. The view was so awe-inspiring that it made me exclaim, "Here, I do believe in God." The Amazonian priest who had guided our tour corrected me. "Here," he said, "you realize that you are God." I looked at myself and thought that the man was crazy. 12 years after that tour, I had my third journey with the magic mushrooms. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. That's when I knew that the Amazonian priest had been right. On the morning of December 25th, Christmas, my grandchildren called me on Zoom to show me the gifts that Santa had brought for them. The screen on my computer filled with stories, fairies, magic wands, and smurfs, fantastic zoos, princesses, and dragons. When I said goodbye to them, I must have carried that fantasy world in my heart, because it became the threshold to my third journey. My journey started in an environment of conflict, toys fighting against each other. In my body there was also conflict. I was cold and I was sure I would get cramps. I couldn't find a comfortable position, and the elastic in my pants was bothering me. I got annoyed hearing Spotify ads that interrupted my playlist. I felt disharmony. The tension of the journey kept increasing, and the conflict turned into war. But it wasn't about toys anymore. It was a real war in my mental screen. I began to feel fear, when suddenly I realized that it was my own thoughts that were fueling my discomfort, anger, and fears. And all of a sudden, I realized that the same thing was happening in my everyday life. I would invent my dramas and then be afraid of them. In that moment of revelation, poof, as if by magic, I entered another dimension. It was a kind of known village surrounded by Gaudi-style rocks. It reminded me of those large nativity scenes that churches used to set up at Christmas. My internal saboteur was already starting to list possible catastrophes, and suddenly, a fairy like Pinocchio's appeared and said, "Stop judging yourself. Stop spoiling your dreams and your life. You would do well to discover and love that wonderful being that you are." Her words filled my heart with infinite love. I felt valuable. I felt loved, like I had never felt before. Just then, another Spotify ad came on, but this time it didn't bother me. Instead, I thought that the ad fit perfectly with the experience I was having, a mystical experience. I felt reborn within myself, a different I than the other one I knew, an I am that was one with everything, and everything was one with that I am. I was filled with love, and then I cried and cried with love, with pure love, for many hours. One day, the philosopher Walter Stace, a world authority on mysticism, was asked, "Doctor, is your experience with hallucinogens the same as the mystical experience?" He replied, "No, it's not the same. It is the mystical experience."